These are 4 players we're selling in Dynasty leagues. We're going to start with Devon Achane. Timeout. Do not comment yet. I know what you are going to say. I will be the first to say, and Nathan will also say, Devon Achane is really fun to watch. We like Achane, and his skill set has really, really translated to the NFL. It's been great. He's on a very good offense. He's with a very, very good offensive mind in Mike McDaniel. Right now, here's why we're selling Devon Achane. Right now, RB4 on Keep Trade Cut. The 26th overall player. That means he's creeping into the second round on Keep Trade Cut. 4 words that define why we are going to be selling Devon Achane. This is his ceiling. This is his ceiling. Devon Achane is not a mid-second or late first-round Dynasty super flex startup pick. He is not. He's looked good, again, but and to be fair, the running back market is a mess. But with Achane, let's look at other positions around Achane, where he's at, and who we could move off him. Yes, you're going to say, we were wrong about Achane. Oh, you guys were so wrong. Sure, you could say that if you want to.
Yeah.
He's looked very good. But our argument for Achane was never about his skills. It was never about his skill set. It was never about his hands, his pass-catching ability, his speed. Even between the tackles, we said he was decent for a guy that size. What was our argument about Devon Achane? Our argument was about his longevity and ability to stay on the field due to his size concerns. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but he's on IR. Okay?
Injured reserve.
So I don't think you can come in here and say that we were totally wrong just yet, because this is what we were worried about with Devon Achane. Again, when he's out there, holy crap. But the issue has never been with these uber talented guys that just don't have the size. The issue was never the talent. The issue was always they couldn't really stay on the field. Raheem Mostert, very talented. You're seeing that one play out in the same exact offense. Why has Raheem Mostert not consistently been a top 5 back in the NFL for the last 7 years? Because Raheem Mostert couldn't stay healthy. This is what we're worried about. So again, yeah, if you want to say that we were incorrect, fine. We have no problem saying that. We are more than willing to admit that he's looked way better than we thought he would.
Yep. And this is something that we were pretty unapologetic for in the offseason. We did say, honestly, there is a world where Devon Achane's skill set could translate to the NFL, but he would have to be the outlier of all outliers for that to work out. And honestly, if that ends up happening and we're wrong, we're not going to be apologetic for it, because we're not going to bet on the outlier. So far, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, the last 3 weeks, 51 points, 27, 21.5. But really, if you're looking at the 51-point game, that was a game where Mostert also had 45, where they both had 20 carries apiece and were scoring touchdowns every other opportunity, legit. So if you kind of exclude that one and just pretend it didn't happen because it was Denver's defense, which is historically bad, you're looking at Devon Achane's volume, and this is kind of our point, because the points that he's scored the last 3 weeks are his ceiling, and you're like, well, that's elite level running back 1 overall ceiling. You're correct. What we're saying when we're saying this is his ceiling, we're talking about his value and his opportunity, and how with his opportunity, he's made the most out of his opportunity. He's been by far the most efficient running back in the NFL, and it's not close. It's historically incredible. However, you take away those touchdowns. He's had 6 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns in the last 3 games. We know that touchdowns are volatile, and we know that in the NFL, every team, every defense responds to the new threats and the new weapons that are introduced to different offenses. And this is the first 3 weeks of relevancy for Devon Achane. What do you think defenses are going to do as the season continues? Do you think they're going to let this continue to happen? Or do you think that we'll kind of come back to earth with Devon Achane's production? I think I would say that Devon Achane probably for a while, he could end up settling as a top 12 running back in Dynasty. And I think that would be absolutely fair, because he's basically what we thought Jahmyr Gibbs would be for the Lions, but they don't use him as much.
Right.
Devon Achane's getting the usage that we hoped Jahmyr Gibbs would get, but even less. And when you're looking at that usage, the last 2 games against Buffalo, 8 carries and 11 carries, if you're counting on Devon Achane putting up 25 points with that volume, I don't know what to tell you. That's the kind of volume that Austin Eckler gets, but he gets 10 targets on top of that. And I just don't see that happening when you have other guys like Tyreek Hill. When you have someone like Jalen Waddle, who's had a down first 4 weeks of the season, I think he's going to have a bounce back as well. And this is just the way Mike McDaniel works. Like, he just puts the ball in his playmakers' hands and they make things happen. And that means that sometimes it's going to be Achane, sometimes it's going to not. And his big weeks could be really, really big, but I don't think they'll be as big as we've seen, because defenses are going to respond to this. He's a brand new asset.
Okay, with all of that being said, I could care less. It's literally all about his price for me. All that's true. I don't even care. It's about his price. He could be the best running back on the planet. And listen,
you got to take Breece Hall over him. You've got to take Jonathan Taylor over him. You've got to take.
You quit stealing my segment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Goodness sakes. On Keep Trade Cut, Jalen Waddle. I'm taking Jalen Waddle over Achane all day. All day long, every day, twice on Sundays, no question. Olave, I will take Olave. Again, the value installation with young wide receivers right now in Dynasty is off the charts. Breece Hall, I'm taking Breece Hall. He's a better running back. Jonathan Taylor is a better running back with better size with an actual contract. He is good. Devonta Smith, again, the value installation for a young receiver. These are all young. We gave you examples of young assets and safe assets that we'd much rather own than Devon Achane. We like Achane a lot. We do. Do not think that we are so stubborn that because, don't think we have take lock either. We are not those guys. So if you want to, I would encourage you to not think with your idiot brain and think with your smart brain, because smart brain would realize we could care less if we're wrong, because you could easily say that we are. We
have idiot brain too. We thought that Jahmyr Gibbs would actually produce unlike DeAndre Swift, and it blew up in our face.
We like Achane. He is very fun to watch. We are happy. We are happy to be wrong about that. He's being priced at his ceiling. Yep, that's it.
Yep. Next guy that we think is being priced at his ceiling as well is DJ Moore at the moment. And when you look at his Keep Trade Cut value right now, it's wow. From a 3-touchdown game where he scored 49 points. Good for him, man. Good for him. He actually got 30% of the target volume in that offense, and that was actually relevant target volume, but it took 3 touchdowns as well from him. Like, good for him. Absolutely. Super talented NFL wide receiver. He went from a top 15 he went to a top 15 Dynasty wide receiver in literally like 10 days. Pretty unbelievable. DJ Moore's in the worst situation possible. Okay, please don't go in the comments and tell us that Justin Fields leads the league in passing touchdowns. Please, and he actually doesn't anymore. People were saying that after the Thursday night game before anyone else even played on Sunday, which was hilarious. Please don't tell me that he's going to win MVP, and please don't tell me the Bears are going to go win the Super Bowl. Okay, this is a team that has in 2 weeks played the Denver Broncos defense and the Washington Communist defense. Like, this is something that you... Guys, we've got to be honest with ourselves here. This is why we always tell you to start people in fantasy that play the Broncos defense or the Colts secondary or Chicago's defense, because they're always going to produce against very bad defenses. DJ Moore capitalized on that. There's a greater than 60% chance that Chicago drafts a new wide receiver in the first of 2024 of their picks that they have, because they need a lot of weapons. Even if they don't go wide receiver, they're probably going to go defense and a quarterback. And they're a rebuilding team. And guys, they're probably going to draft a quarterback. They probably are. They likely will. Because Justin Fields, even though he's shown a little bit of improvement the last couple of weeks as a passer, does not have as high a ceiling as the prospects in this 2024 class. I think very few people could deny that. If you are faced with the chance of getting Caleb Williams or Justin Fields, please tell me with a serious face that you would actually take Justin Fields over Caleb Williams.
You could honestly add Justin Fields to this list if you wanted to.
Yeah, you absolutely could. Except he has fallen in price a little bit because of his performance, but he'll go back up.
That's assuming he goes back up.
Yeah, with an experienced quarterback, if Chicago takes one, this would actually help DJ Moore. But with either Fields or Williams, it may not. We don't really know. Young quarterbacks don't typically allow 2 high-producing wide receivers. So if Chicago were to draft a wide receiver, if they were to get another one in free agency, you just don't know what DJ Moore's situation is going to be long-term in Chicago. He's value equivalent to a mid-2024 first right now. And you could just stop this right here, go run to the bank, and go get that 24 first, please. There is way too many question marks in Chicago next year, in 2 years, in 3 years for me to actually be comfortable taking DJ Moore over that 2024 first, where you're going to have an insulated wide receiver, a class with Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., both in the same school at Ohio State, like 4 different quarterbacks that are relevant, probably first-round caliber quarterbacks, not to mention 3 or 4 running backs that we're very interested in as well. Brock Bowers. There's a lot of guys there that I'm very interested in for what is going to be going into next season, a 27-year-old wide receiver on a rebuilding team.
This one hurts. Have you ever, in one of our videos, and if you've been around a long time, the answer is no. Have you ever heard us sell low on a player before? Especially like a player that's in the top 50 on Keep Trade Cut. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been bamboozled once again by the Detroit Lions. Please welcome Jahmyr Gibbs to the sell video. This...
Oh, don't clap.
This would be considering selling low on Gibbs, because a lot of people are going to be like, it's not selling low. Yeah, he was as high as the RB2 this season.
And we were in that. We were
saying that.
RB2.
We were very wrong. Again, for the camp who thinks we never want to admit we're wrong. How wrong we were about Jahmyr Gibbs. And we look like idiots.
Yep.
Some people may say that this was a mistake on our part. And yeah, it was, actually. Yep. It clearly was. So pardon us and everybody else who was, again, burnt by Dan Campbell and burnt by the Lions front office, who invested the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft, where you have a ton of talent. You invest the 12th pick in a running back that you now say in week 6 of the NFL season that he is just your change of pace guy. He's not going to get a lot of volume. You invest the 12th overall pick and you release a video on social media of you going absolutely bananas, only to give the guy enough usage to maybe get 9 fantasy points a week. Not to mention 0 red zone packages. The man is, not being used in the red zone. There were a lot of great fantasy analysts out there that said that coming out of college. Like, how are they going to use him in the red zone in the NFL? They were right. They were right about that. We were wrong about that. Simply put, it's not happening this year, okay? With the Lions and the way they're looking, I would think they're going to have the same regime next year, maybe with the exception of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson could have gotten any job he wanted this year, though, and he stayed. It's not happening next year. It's not happening the year after. It's not. It's not happening anymore.
No.
In 4 years, maybe he gets traded to the Eagles, and the Eagles resurrect his career.
Yes.
But outside of the off chance of that happening, it is not happening. It's not. I promise. I'm very... Look, I was as high. I was a Jahmyr Gibbs truther. I was ranking Jahmyr Gibbs behind Bijan as the RB2 in Dynasty. I have been bamboozled. You can call this an overreaction if you want. I know there are going to be a ton of you guys that say, oh, you've only seen 6 weeks of him. This is such an overreaction. But this is not an overreaction. Because we've seen this before. We saw it with DeAndre Swift, who is now tearing it up for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we insisted it would not happen again. This is the same thing. It is the exact same thing, and David Montgomery is a better Jamal Williams. It's the exact same thing. It's not an overreaction. It's not. The Lions have straight up admitted that he's a change of pace guy with limited touches, and that's why they drafted him. They've been getting trashed on social media, which, again, what do we know? But they deserve to be trashed, actually. Because why are you spending the 12th overall pick on a running back you're going to use as a change of pace back? That's not what you use top 15 running back picks for. You don't pick running backs in the top 15 anymore unless they're Bijan. Or unless they're Jahmyr Gibbs and you're going to use them. They burnt us. We got burnt. We are holding the hot potato. I'm throwing the hot potato at somebody's face as hard as I can.
Yeah. They burnt themselves. They could have spent that on a really good defensive prospect.
ETN, value adjacent. Walker, Kenneth type, value adjacent. Hawk, value adjacent. Andrews, value adjacent. Barkley.
Every single one.
Seriously?
I'll take everyone.
JSN, Kyler Murray in a Superflex league.
Ooh.
London. Guys, if you can get any of those guys for Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm getting the risk off of my team. I'm sorry. Yeah. I am so sorry from us that we told you that Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be what he was. We should have known better that the Lions are an absolute poverty franchise and that they weren't going to correctly use a running back, which they had elite draft capital in. I am very sorry. That is our fault. We will not fall for it again. The Lions have fooled us for the last time. If you can sell Jahmyr Gibbs for any of those guys, we are doing it. This is not. We are well aware that you are going to say this is an overreaction. Yep. It's not.
Can you see the trauma in his eyes? Can you see the trauma that the Lions have inflicted on Avery's life in Dynasty? It's pretty tragic, honestly. It's terrible.
And the next guy is why.
And the next guy is why, who really began all of this and has been balling out now since he's not on the Lions' freaking offense, is DeAndre Swift. First of all, I screamed DeAndre Swift all offseason. I knew that he was going to put up a clinic in Philadelphia because that offensive line is just too good, and DeAndre Swift is just too athletic, and he's too young, and he has too little miles on him that I just knew that he was going to do so well. And the fact that so many people were convincing themselves that Rashad Penny, again, was going to outproduce whatever other running back he's playing with is laughable. I told you guys. I told you so. DeAndre Swift, we've had a long history with this guy. This year, you can see why we loved him in the past. He is finally showing out, and he's finally getting the volume that we always wished that he would get. He is still only 24 years old and in the last year of his rookie deal. So why, do you ask, Domain guys, why, after speaking so positively on DeAndre Swift and tooting his horn all offseason and screaming to buy him now, why are you having him on this sell video? That is why. He's in the last year of his rookie deal, and he is probably not going to get tagged, most likely. The Eagles have paid top dollar to A.J. Brown. They have now paid top dollar to Jalen Hurts. They have a lot of money that needs to go around defensively, and they have to maintain that offensive line. Running back is the last priority in that offense, and you saw that with Miles Sanders once they let him go and brought in DeAndre Swift for a 5th-round pick. They have very little investment in Swift, and even though he's a great weapon for them, they will do just fine without him because they have Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts' rushing ability will help whoever's in that backfield for the future. It's not worth the financial investment for them to pay DeAndre Swift in the future. And when you see DeAndre Swift most likely move on from Philadelphia after this season, he will by default automatically be in a worse situation, and his production will go down. You have seen a value spike with DeAndre Swift. This is primarily why I wanted us to invest in DeAndre Swift this offseason, because I knew this would happen. I knew he would skyrocket back up in value and probably sniff top 12 running backs in Dynasty. Lo and behold, he does. Yes. And honestly, with his injury history, there's still a chance that he gets banged up again and loses value later this season. I would try and get out before it's too late. If you're a contender, it's obviously a little bit more of a hairy situation because of how much of a dumpster fire the running back position has been this year. You may be depending on DeAndre Swift to help you win a championship. And if you're in that situation as a contender, I understand why you need to keep DeAndre Swift. I am not against that. I think he's producing even at a higher level than I expected, where it's permissible at this point to hold on to him as a contender and treat him as a contending asset. But for you rebuilds who may own him, for anyone else who's kind of on the fringe of contending and can afford to move off of him, please do.
Please do.
Please do. Right now, you can sell him for guys like Drake London at a discount. Kyler Murray, a quarterback in a super flex league who's on a mega contract. And I don't care if he's playing for Arizona or for the Minnesota Vikings. He is going to put up fantasy points because of his rushing upside and his passing ability. Yes. Josh Jacobs, who will get a new deal. If not for Vegas, it'll be for someone else. And honestly, I kind of value those guys as like value adjacent assets. I think they both have probably the same shelf life as running backs because Swift has a lot less usage. But I think Jacobs is going to be a lot more market value friendly come next offseason because of his situation, just in my personal opinion, and I know you trust him a little bit more. David Montgomery already has a deal, 3-year deal, getting 30 carries a game with the Lions. Great talent with elite efficiency, but you can bet we've learned our lesson on Swift.
We learned our lesson on all these guys. This video ended up being a lot longer than we planned because we're really upset.
We're upset.
Again,
I'm happy about
We
Swift.
are through enough weeks now to where we can have some sells in Dynasty. We waited super long to do this video. I'm sorry we yelled at you. We weren't yelling at you. We were venting.
We're excited.
This is our therapy session. So
yes.
Do us a huge favor. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. If you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, it's Dynasty season. It's picking up. I can see it. There's demand for videos. We're going to start putting them out like nobody's business. So make sure you subscribe. And flockfantasy.com/domain. If you choose the Mother Flocker tier over there and you use code domain, you get one of these. It is a team blueprint. It's going to help you. I know. Look at it. It's going to help you Figure out a path for your team moving forward, whether that's contending and bolstering your team. If it's rebuilding, it's going to be which assets do you need to prioritize? Which ones should you move off of? What should you do with your roster? We're going to grade each your position groups, your depth. We're going to talk about some trade targets and some guys you should be trading away. It is a comprehensive breakdown of your dynasty team so that you know, A, what type of team you have, and B, which direction you should be taking that team. So if you want one of those, Mother Flocker tier over on flockfantasy.com/domain. Make sure you use code domain to get 30% off and to unlock the blueprint. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you later.